Okay. Hi, Job Club and Project Proven students. Welcome to the first of what we hope will be several videos exploring employment opportunities, employment skills, and community resources. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Becky Grapes, Director of Human Resources at Badger Corrugating in La Crosse. Proven has worked extremely closely with Badger, so we're excited to be able to speak with her. I'm Dillon Mader, an instructor for Project Proven. And Colin, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Colin Walsh, the manager for Project Proven. And Becky, I'll have you introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Becky Grapes. I'm the Director of HR and Compliance and Safety at Badger Corrugating Company in La Crosse.
Awesome. Thank you, Becky. Now I'd like to ask you a handful of questions about both work opportunities at Badger and what someone needs to get their foot in the door. So let's start with this one. What jobs do you have open at Badger Corrugating?
Well, currently we have a number of positions in our production facilities. Badger Corrugating is a wholesale manufacturer and distributor. Our primary growth areas are in our interior millwork and in our exterior millwork. And those, if you can think about the inside of a home, interior millwork are doors, they're crown molding, it's trim, those types of products that we produce both as a raw product and as a pre-finished product. I know that's a silly word for some people, but that really means that the product has been customized to the customer's desires, whether it be painting or stain. But if you can imagine, we have a whole production process. So we get a raw product in, we pull the product, we use WMS scanners to keep track of our products. So we have high-tech technology in our production facilities. We have individuals who, are sanders and scuffers and stainers and painters. We have door assemblers. We have packagers and a lot of other positions in between. But, in a production facility, you do have a bit of turnover. So we are always continually looking for good talent to join our team in production. We also have warehouse positions, so we load our trucks, we pull product for our customers throughout the day, we receive product and put it away, so we are looking for individuals to work in our warehouse, both on first shift, we have a swing shift as well, and then we have our loading team at night, so they work Sunday through Thursday, and those are the individuals who load our semis every night so that our drivers can be on the road as early as possible. And then the other positions that we have available is because we are continuing to grow as a company. We haven't slowed down during the pandemic, as we're looking for Class A CDL drivers. So these are individuals who have experience at least 2 years and possess a Class A CDL driver's license and a med card. And then we can see if we can find a good fit with them.
Oh, so I guess when you're looking or when you have applicants coming in, are there specific maybe personality traits that you find are a good fit at Badger, or even maybe I don't have the experience of millwork or sanding, staining? Are there some other skills, manual labor-wise, that would transfer nicely into a position at Badger?
Someone who has a production background, they've worked in a production facility, so they understand the processes. They understand, I always talk about our processes. We want to cross-train. So individuals who work in our production facility, it's like you got a wheel, you got spokes. And when those spokes, you got a spoke gone because someone called in sick or they're on vacation, you have to have people cross-trained to be able to keep that process going. Our shifts start as early as 3:30 in the morning and are pre-finished, and they actually go until the evening. So those processes continue throughout the day. Product is moving from one end of the facility due to a process to the other end of the facility, which would mean they're being assembled, packaged, and go out the door for our trucks. So it helps for someone who has that general background of what's it like to work in a production facility. Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the most important. If you have construction background, oh, perfect, because you're familiar with wood products, you're familiar with how things are put together. So you might have some experience then in assembling a door. So those are just probably the best things. But honestly, we have a lot of entry-level positions that folks can just come in and we're willing to train them. And as they're training in those entry-level positions, they have the opportunity then to grow and develop in other areas as well. Maybe they come in the door as a scupper or a sander, then maybe in about 6 months, they're in the stain booth, they're staining, or they're in the paint area and they're painting doors, so, or assembling. If they've got the gumption to want to learn and have that desire, they can go a long way.
Absolutely. Thank you, Becky. I appreciate that. Can I ask more specifically during an interview, what are you looking for? And let's say that there's a candidate who comes to you who doesn't have a lot of experience in construction or manufacturing. What can they do to set themselves apart?
Well, the first thing I always tell candidates is dress for the part. Don't come to the interview in torn up jeans and an old ugly sweatshirt or t-shirt, because in my mind, it doesn't look like you want to work. Dress the part. You don't have to come in a suit and a tie, but come in a good pair of jeans, come in a nice shirt, you know, have that attitude that you want to be there, that you want to work. I think that's probably one of the biggest things. If someone comes in, you know, they're not moving very fast, their shoulders are slouched, they just don't appear to have that desire to want to be here. And when we talk to them, we want to know what their history is. There's probably a lot of things that people have done in their work history that are cross-trainable to what we do. I mean, you take someone who's in the military, who has that military background, they might have been disassembling weapons or working in a truck or whatever, but there's a lot of skills that they've learned, whether it being a leader or whatever, that they can transfer to what we do as well. So I never want to discount anybody's work history. So they have to come to the interview prepared to tell us about themselves. And what is it that they can bring to Badger that would set them apart? They need to tell us as well. We want them to engage with our supervisors. They're the ones who are going to be making the decisions. HR does the initial screening, we set up the interviews, but it's the supervisor, that person who's in charge of that group of team members, who are going to make that ultimate decision on whether or not they're going to bring them on board. They're looking for someone who's got energy. They're looking for someone who has a desire to want to work, who's going to show up to work every day. Our supervisor are going to be honest with them. They're going to tell them, you know what, we have attendance policies. You know, we have this, I always talk about this contract that we have. It's not a work contract, but it sort of is, that when we bring you on board, there's an expectation that you're going to come to work, you're going to show up every day, and that you're going to do the best job that you can. And then on the flip side, we're going to pay you for that. We're going to give you benefits. So there's that relationship that we've created. So I think it's really important that they understand that, and that they're willing to take part in that process. They're going to show up to work on time. They're going to communicate really well with their team members. You know, they're not going to have any conflicts in the workplace. And if there are, then we're going to work as a team to help resolve them. I'm a firm believer that anybody who works here, they have to treat each other with dignity and respect. We can't be a good team if we're not.
No, I love that. Is there, like, on the flip side, do you have anything that's just cringeworthy that during the interview process or the application, you see something on application that just would say, oh my gosh, I wish someday so-and-so wouldn't have done?
Mm-hmm.
I know you mentioned the showing up, you know, with in jeans, but and bad body language. But is there anything else like that would just?
Well, you know, when people have big gaps in their employment history, that's kind of a warning sign for us as well. There may be a very good reason why, but that might hinder us from bringing someone in. I'll be honest about that. If somebody doesn't spell correctly on their resume or their application, that's a big red flag for me. And it's not because they lack education. That's not what it's about. It's attention to detail. And because everything that we do here, you have to have good attention to detail. Whether it's looking at our pick ticket and pulling product accurately, it's using our scanners accurately. Everything that we do, you have to have good attention to detail. So not, doing your application haphazardly or filling out your resume haphazardly just to get your name in the door. Take that time and polish it up and make it look good, because that's going to set you apart for us as well. And when you're doing that interview, we want to learn about you. We want you to talk to us. Somebody who's sitting there not saying a word and you have to pry things out of them, that's not going to help us learn who they are. So we want them to really talk to us and be part of that engagement process. I know interviews are nervous. People get really nervous, and I understand that. But we hope that through that interview process and that engagement that we loosen them up a little bit so that we can have that honest talk and that honest engagement so we can learn more about them.
Nice. Thanks, Becky. A quick follow-up to that question. What if somebody does have gaps in their employment? What advice or suggestions would you give them in terms of getting their foot in the door or making it through the interview if they do get that far?
If they have gaps in their employment, they should probably include what skills that they have learned. Like I said, there may be a reason that someone has a gap, say someone who's an offender who has been serving their time, but they've probably learned some skills at that, in that facility that they're in as well. So you might have the gap, but tell me what you can bring to the company. I think that that's so very important. It's like, but when you fill out that letter of interest about wanting to be somewhere, your resume is only going to tell me so much. Tell me in that letter or during that interview process what you could bring to the table that no one else can. What skills can set you apart from somebody else? Fill in the gaps for me, but do it differently.
Nice. Thanks for that.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks. Next question for you. What do people generally love most about the work at Badger? What do they enjoy?
We try and have fun here. We work hard, but we try and engage our employees as much as we possibly can. We just like to have fun, but I'm not kidding you. Our people work pretty hard here, and by the end of the day, they're exhausted. But, we try and bring them lunch. We have fun activities for them periodically. And, my favorite part of my job is when I get to go out on the production floor and I just get to gab and have a conversation with folks. That's how I get to know people. That's how I engage with them. And I just like to do that anyway. So, because I think it's important. I know every person here by their first name, with the exception of brand new people who have just started. And I think that's important. It shows that we care about them.
Yeah, no, I love that. It starts at the top, and you guys got a great reputation for that. So, which I guess kind of on the other side of that though, like, do you guys find, is there a common thread that you hear from your employees about what they find most challenging about the work? Is it the hour, just the physicality of it and the long hours?
Probably the physical side of it, because when we sell building products, building materials. So we've got lumber, we've got garage doors, we have, just on that direct service and sale to our customers. And then you have our production facilities where they could be lifting doors that weigh 100 pounds. Now, we do have restrictions. You have to do 2-man lifts, that kind of thing. But yeah, all the jobs are very physical. And it can, there are some folks who think that they can do the job, but when they get here, they're just physically unable to. They learn pretty quickly that, this probably wasn't the right fit for them. And we see it as well. So then at that point, what we might do is try and see if we can find a different place for them. Maybe put them in a less stressful area. But, we do work very hard. And except if you're working in an office in sales or in admin, they're very physical jobs.
Absolutely. Becky, we're wondering, do you consider Badger a felon-friendly employer?
Yes, I believe we are. When we go through the interview process, of course, we don't ask anybody about their background. If we make an offer of employment, we do have our pre-employment processes. So our new candidates will fill out a background check form, which is when we do the criminal background check. We have a pre-employment drug screen, and if you're working in production or warehouse, we're going to have you do a math test. And I always tell folks, don't get worried about that. It's not a make or break. It's just to learn where your skill level is at, because you'll need to use math skills, so we'll help train you. If you need to learn how to read a ruler or a tape measure or how to measure liquids appropriately, we will show that to you and we will help you with that. But it helps us gauge where they're at. But we have individuals here at Badger. We have a lot of folks who have interesting backgrounds. So I'm always a firm believer in giving people a second chance. I think that's very important for them and for us. There's only one area here at Badger where we are not able to put someone who has a sexual offender background, because it's an area where we have a youth apprenticeship program. So it's specific to that work area, so we would never be able to put anybody in there. But the majority of our warehousing and interior millwork, that's not an issue at all.
Yeah, and I know Dillon and I can both speak firsthand. You guys have been wonderful to our proven students. So I can definitely, I will back what you are saying. Badger's been very felon-friendly. I guess I'm watching this. I like what I hear. I'm excited about it. What would you say was your preferred way of applying for a position at Badger?
We actually look at multiple areas. Individuals can go to our website where they can apply right online at badgerlax.com. We have an employment opportunities tab, and there's an actual general application that they can fill out. They can stop by here and fill out an application. They can mail us an application. They can go to resources such as Indeed.com, and they can fill out a resume online and apply for any number of our positions that we have posted out there. We're always looking at different ways to entice people to come to Badger and to interview with us. We are actually going to be kicking off an open interview date. It'll be new for us. We've never actually done it that way, but we've got signage all ready to go, and my assistant Jessica is working very hard with the supervisors to set up a day where the door is just always open. They don't have to call. They can drive by us and see the sign that says we're open. Come on in, let's have a chat. And Jessica will do the initial interview process and then hook them up with the appropriate supervisor. And hopefully we can make a match that way too.
Awesome. And I know we've been successful with Project Proven matching potential employees with you just by way of a resume referral process. And we are so thankful for that. And I'm going to triple second the felon-friendly piece, because we've had just a wonderful relationship, and we're thankful for that.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Well, this wraps our question and answer session. Thank you to Becky for joining Colin and me in this first video, and we look forward to future meetings, Becky.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Thanks.